All right, so on this problem, we're going to do what the instructions say up here, but we're going to actually solve this problem right here. Okay, so let's read these instructions. The instructions say, complete the square to determine if the equation is a circle, a quadratic, or other. Show all work and graph the circles on a grid, right? So first thing we got to do is tell, is this thing a circle, a quadratic, or other? So let's do that first. Let's group it and tell that first, and then we'll do the rest. Remember, we're doing it, though, not on the problem they show there, but on this one. So if you need to, pause the video, go ahead and write the problem out so you can do it yourself. All right, so the first thing I always like to do is group these. So I'm going to group my x's together, and I'm going to group my y's together, and I'm going to go ahead and put the 9 on the right side by subtracting 9 on both sides. So I've got 4x squared minus 16x plus y squared plus 6y equals negative 9. So all I did was group the x's and the y's. And then I look and I say, can I factor anything out? Well, on this left side, I can. 4 goes into this and into this, so I'll factor it out. 4 times x squared minus 16x. Ooh, I messed that up. I didn't factor out. I factored 4 out here, but I didn't factor it here. So let me go back. It's not minus 16. It's going to be minus 4x plus y squared plus 6y equals negative 9. And now remember, the instructions told me, I want you to look at them. It said, it gave me a good hint. It says, complete the square. So I'm at a point now where I'm ready to complete the square. So to complete the square, I have to put a space here and a space here to do it. And so I've got 4 times x squared minus 4x, leave a space, plus y squared plus 6y in parentheses, leave a space, equals negative 9. And in that space, I'm going to put in this space b over 2 squared. So b is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And negative 2 squared is plus 4. And on this one, b is 6. Divided by 2 is 3. And 3 squared is 9. Now, I added 9 on the right side, so I also have to add 9 on the... I added 9 on the left, so I have to add it on the right. The reason I haven't done this one yet is because this 4 is out front, I don't add 4 to the right. I got to multiply the 4 times the 4, and that gives me 16, and that's what I'll add over here. So plus 16. You have to account for this 4 that's out in front. All right, so now let's factor these. So I've got 4, and then in parentheses, x. The square root of that is x. Always take this sign, minus, and the square root of that is 2, and it's all squared. Plus, the square root of that is y. Always take this sign, and the square root of that is 3. The reason I can do this and just put the squared like this, just take square root of that, take square root of that, and put them here, and then squared, is because I completed the square. I turned it into a perfect square. And that equals, when you add all this up, you get 16. Okay? Now, I want you to notice we can already tell that this isn't a circle. And the question is, how can we tell that? Well, the number in front of this is different from the number in front of this, right? These would have to be identical for it to be a circle. Well, I can tell you already, this is going to be an ellipse. So this is going to be something, if I drew a coordinate plane, it's going to be like this or like this, kind of an oval, right? An ellipse. And so because I know that, I want to get this in ellipse form. And to get it in ellipse form, I need this 16 to be a 1. So what can I divide 16 by to make it 1? Well, anything divided by itself is 1. So I'll divide it by 16, but since I'm doing that, I also have to divide this by 16 and this by 16. Okay, now we're getting off into our ellipse rules. So 4 divided by 16 is 1/4. So I'll have x minus 2 all squared. And then over 4, right? Because it's 1/4. Plus, oops, sorry about that. Plus y plus 3 squared all over 16, and it equals 1. All right, so now we've got our equation, but now I need to teach you some information about an ellipse, okay? Now, this right here represents the x, and Khan Academy's got a really good video on this. So this right here is your x value, and when you square root the bottom, it's going to tell you how far the x is, the x direction, which is left and right, is from the center. And when you square root this bottom, it's going to tell you how far up and down. Now, we know the center of our ellipse, based on our circle rules, is, see if you can pause and tell, but you just look up here and you say, what's going to make this top 0? Well, 2 will. And what's going to make this top 0? Well, -3 will. And so there's our center of the ellipse. And so I draw on my coordinate plane the point 2, which is 1, 2, and down 1, 2, 3. So there's the center of the ellipse. Now it's telling me the square root of 4 is 2. So in the x direction, left and right, it's 2 from the center. So that would be at right here at 4. And since we're right 2, that would be left at 0. So notice I went from the center, right 2, because the square root of 4 is 2, right 2, and I'm going to go left 2, which would be right there. So I'm going to draw that point. Now in the y direction, because y is here, so the square root of 16 is 4, we're going to go up from the center 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put a point right there, right here. And we're also going to go down 4. So I'm already at -3, so if I go down 4, I'll be at -7. So let's go down 1, 2, 3, 4, right here. And so that's kind of your ellipse. So let's draw this thing out. It's kind of hard to draw on the iPad here, but I want you to see the ellipse would look something like this. So when you're drawing an ellipse, you need to know where the center is. You need to know how far right from the center it goes and how far left from the center it goes. And the way we knew left and right was we looked at the x value right here. And because this was set equal to 1, we could just square root the bottom, and we knew it was right and left 2. We knew it was up and down 4, the square root of that. Remember, x corresponds to this x-axis, so that's how I knew that this right here goes left and right. And y corresponds to the y-axis, so that's how come I knew it went up and down 4. Now, you really never want to just do a problem and not look at Wolfram Alpha and see if you did it right. So I'm going to open a browser, and I'm going to go to Wolfram Alpha, and I'm going to look at my problem, my original problem, which is right. Let me point at it for you. Here's my original. So I'm going to write it up here so I can put it in Wolfram Alpha. 4x squared minus 16x plus y squared plus 6y plus 9 equals 0. So that's what I'm going to put in Wolfram Alpha. So here we go. So I've got 4x squared minus 16x plus y squared plus 6y plus 9 equals 0. So, let me look at it and make sure that I put it in right. 4x squared minus 16x plus y squared plus 6y plus 9 equals 0. So I'm going to press enter, and it's going to show me what the graph looks like. There it is. And you can see it looks basically identical to the one we did, right? You can see it's over in the bottom right quadrant. This one's over in the bottom right quadrant. You can even put in Wolfram Alpha like information like this. Watch. I'm going to say, I want to know what the center is. And we said the center was 2, -3. And look, Wolfram Alpha also says 2, -3. So if the graph basically looks identical in Wolfram Alpha to what you got with the same center, you can have confidence you did it right. And so what I want you to do, let's first answer the question. We know that this is an ellipse. Okay, so if we were to say this is an ellipse, and it has a center at, what did we say, 2, -3, and then there's the graph. So we did everything the question has asked, right? We completed the square. We told that it's an ellipse, which is an other, and then we showed all work to graph it on a grid. So now what I want you to do is I want you to look at this problem and try to do exactly what I just did, but on this right here. You try.